Hey guys and gals out in interwebs land, welcome to another episode of Miyagi Mornings. I believe this is a Tuesday. I don't know, man. My life has been scrambled lately. I'm so glad I'll be going on vacation at the end of next week. As previously announced, this will be the last week of Miyagi Mornings for a couple weeks as I go recharge the batteries. Next week leading up to my departure, I want to get some rewinds and things like that done, so there's podcasts every day. For those that watch me on YouTube and don't listen to my podcast, this is not my podcast. This is just morning videos that I do. I do a podcast of about an hour to an hour and a half a day, almost every day of the week. Got almost 3,000 episodes up now, going back 13 years. So if you want to check me out there. All right, so today I have for you what might be like a freaking crazy lunatic idea that no one should ever do, ever. Or it might be a genius idea or somewhere in between. And it's not a complete idea, so I'm not concerned with, but here's a problem, right? Like, I think that when you start talking about doing a project like I'm talking about here, you have developers working together and then they figure out problems as they go. And to be very clear, I don't want to be in charge of this. I certainly don't have the technical know-how how to do this, and I damn sure don't have the time to learn it, nor the time to do it. So this is just like floating an idea in the crypto space out into the universe, and it's going to be odd coming from me. Because I'm the one that said so many times, over and over and over again, we don't need another cryptocurrency. We don't need another cryptocurrency, right? And I always temper that with, but maybe we do, right? It bugs me that every time there's a project, we have to put a token in it or a coin in it, so that basically the developers of the project can print money. That's not what this is. And again, this might sound insane, but let's go back a little bit and kind of what my vision and dream for society is with cryptocurrency, with the ability to do business with each other, to know each other, and to conduct business privately, and to be able to communicate privately, and to be able to put whatever the hell you want online and not have somebody say that has to be taken down. So what I'm seeing in my mind of a virtual nation would be a social media site or sites built on blockchain that would look and work a lot like Facebook without Zuckerberg in charge of it, without his fact-checking bullshit. To me, I believe the best fact-checking is the market itself. Like, people that are Looney Tunes that are going to believe bullshit, they're going to believe it no matter what anybody says, and people that won't believe the truth are not going to believe it no matter what anybody says. So let people have open, vigorous discourse about like that. Likewise, it would be great if people could be like, I have this thing for sale, whether it's an electronic product, a physical product, an NFT, I don't care what it is. Like, if people want to do business, it's between those two people and nobody else. And so I've always wanted kind of this social media site. I don't even know if that's the right word for it anymore, but something that somebody could use that would be like, I don't care about any of this shit. I just don't want to see censorship. And it could also be the thing that, like, the total crypto geek could use equally. To, like, I want to be able to do business with these 25 people around the world and stay in touch with them and have my own private group and not be bothered. And to me, we need a privacy coin for that. And I think the two best out there right now are Monero, which is great and going to get better, and Pirate, which is the best privacy coin that there is, but has some things that still need to be developed with, like, wallet technology and all, to make things be a little more smooth. So either one of these could be used for what I'm about to say, or maybe something else. I don't know. So, but here's what I'm thinking. It doesn't make sense if all you want to create is a derivative of something, and you need a technology that already exists to completely rebuild the technology that's going to handle the derivative. And derivative is a bad word in a lot of people's minds because of what's been done. But derivatives are generally done to multiply a thing. I'm talking about locking a thing even. So for this to make sense, you have to take proof of stake, proof of work, delegated proof of stake, all the ways we've ever created a cryptocurrency, and throw them out. Just forget about everything you know about how cryptocurrency has been created up till now. Do not try to put it back together. And I'm going to use Bitcoin as the backing currency for this. I don't care that it's not private. When you hear me explain this, you'll understand why that doesn't matter. There's been something that's been going on in my head ever since I heard Michael Saylor say this. He keeps saying Bitcoin is the hardest money that humans have ever created. No one can screw with it. No one can change the cap. No one can change the quantity. Additionally, it has adoption, right? So people have gone out and adopted this, and I think you're going to see Bitcoin ETFs. Like, Bitcoin is going to be hard money. Again, what I'm about to say is not going to be without things that would need to be fixed. This is just a brain dump, okay? My idea would be that this new ecosystem, this social media, virtual nation, marketplace, exchange of ideas, networking, etc. society would be a place where people could go and set up an account. Maybe there's some form of digital identity so we know that it doesn't even need to really be bound to anybody's real world identity. But like once you create that identity, like your reputation begins at that point. And there'd be some way we figure out how to do that where people can only have one account. Don't know how to do that yet. More important is the currency today, because this could work other ways too. There would basically be, think of it like a vault. Now you're going to realize as I do this, the thing about it is no one directly benefits from this who builds it. The only way they would benefit from it is to be able to use the ecosystem like anybody else. There's no mining. There's no pre-mine. There's no proof of stake. There's nothing like that at all. You'd have this, and I don't even know what to call it because no one's ever built one. This blockchain-ish thing that can only make coins when deposited to in the form of Bitcoin goes in, privacy coin comes out. You're not buying it. You're not buying it. You're not selling it. There is, and when it goes in there, no one takes a piece of the action. And so what you would do is you'd create a fixed cost association. And I have no idea what this would be. So I'm going to pull numbers out of my ass. It might need to be lower or higher. This is just for explanation purposes. For instance, perhaps for every 100 Satoshis you stick in there, one of these new coins that we'll just call Liberty Private comes out. Liberty Private. And the reason we don't do that and just use a Monero or an R or something like it is they have their own world. They have their own ecosystem. They have their own market cap. They have their own supply. They have their own method of creation. Like you would, the only reason you would create something new here is you'd need it. So let's make it really simple because we probably wouldn't go this low, but let's make it really simple. 1 Satoshi equals one of these coins, right? 1 to 1. 1 Satoshi, 1 coin. You put in 1,000 Satoshis, you get out 1,000 of these coins. These coins could pretty much be a copy of a functioning, working, existing privacy coin. And I love R. They're my favorite long-term coin, and it might take so long to build this that any of the problems would go away. But if I was doing it today, I'd look more to something like Monero, a little bit more stability in their wallets, exchanges, all that shit, right? And like I said, when I've talked about this before, Monero uses these ring CTs that has, I think, 11 units in the ring right now, or 11 options in the ring. It's going over like 100, so it's going to be even better. So it could be Monero, it could be R, it could be some other privacy coin I don't know about, but you basically copy over the technology so that you can base build the existing infrastructure. You shortcut everything. This is not about like, you know, first of all, this is all open source. Anybody can take any coin and make another derivative or version thereof, right? Like this is done all the time. So what you're doing is you're shortcutting that dev, but money goes in, money comes out, and you can build this with all this technology we have in a way where anybody, like it can't be, it obviously has to be something that can't be scammed, and it can't be gamed, so it has to have like some sort of smart contracts built into it or whatever, where, and maybe, you know, there's going to be some fee on the Bitcoin network in, so maybe what you have is like a daily run, maybe it uses Lightning, I don't know, okay? But basically, maybe you put the money in at 9 o'clock in the morning and you get it out at 9 o'clock at night. You get your exchanged or newly minted or whatever to keep costs down. And so, like, all the transactions that go in and all the transactions that come out are batched a few times a day. So you have, like, new minted, and this is the other side. Effectively, when somebody says, okay, I don't want to use this, I want my Satoshis back, instead of minting new coins, you're burning them. That's a term that is used, so I'll use it here. They disintegrate when withdrawn, when Satoshis come out, and they're minted when Satoshis go in. So the supply flexes with the needs of the marketplace. However, you have an infinitely strong hard cap on quantity. Because how much Bitcoin of the market, like 21 million Bitcoins there will ever be, how much of that would ever go in here? A fairly small amount. And I know somebody's going to say, we should use a different currency than Bitcoin. Maybe, but I don't know. Because now you have an incredibly hard-backed coin, token, call it whatever you want to. It has a finite low-end value of a currency that no matter what the central banks do to it, no matter what happens in society, freaking some of you people that think like Bitcoin's going to crash to the ground and go to zero and it's all going to be this or what. No, quit dreaming your bullshit. This is the most successful network ever built by human beings. This is $1 trillion asset. It's not going away. And that's solidity. And I want you to think about then Bitcoin like gold or silver. But I want you to think about it for silver for the sake of this discussion because it'll make it easier to understand. This new currency would not necessarily always be pegged in its value to the marketplace to Bitcoin. It could decouple in the positive direction, but I don't see it ever decoupling to the negative. Since you can always exchange it for a fixed ratio of Satoshis, there's a base, there's a floor. It can't go any lower than Bitcoin lets it. However, there's no reason it can't be a crypto that trades in its own right and has value above the Satoshi lock. I know that sounds crazy, but I want you to think about it. Again, no one's ever done this that I know of, so it's a totally different way of looking at it. In 1930, if you had a quarter, a United States quarter, it was made out of 90% silver, right? 90% silver. And that silver had intrinsic value. The reason they did that at the time was to, yes, put backing in the money, but it also didn't cost a quarter for the silver that went into the quarter. The silver wasn't worth 25 cents. The stamp of the United States government on it saying this is a quarter of a dollar made it worth a quarter of a dollar. The silver was really a partial backing. The reason in 1964 through 1965 we once again demonetized silver, similar to what was done in the crime of 1873, was the underlying value of the silver began to exceed the value of the coin itself. And when that happened, we got into Gresham's Law, and people started taking the silver out of circulation and said, I am better off holding this as base metal than spending it as U.S. quarters or dimes or what have you, 50-cent pieces. All of it. Like, we got to do something. Everybody's just holding the coinage. Nobody's spending it. So they could have reduced the size or the silver content, and that actually happened for a very brief period with the Kennedy half dollars. That's where you have the 40% and the Ike dollar, right, where you have the 40% silver. Wasn't really a good, because you're going to keep having this problem, right? So what they did is they took the silver out of circulation. They got as much of it back as they could. People held on. That's why there's tons of it out there today. It's referred to today as junk silver. And they started minting basically cladded copper that's worth, you know, 1/4 has a half a cent worth of base metal value in it or something like that. And they swapped over to that. And then the quarter maintained its value. Up until that crossover, the quarter was worth more than the base metal. And the quarter had functionality and fungibility in its own economy. So this Liberty Private Token or whatever could have value that exceeds the base metal, which is Bitcoin in this particular, for instance. It could trade on other exchanges eventually and what have you. The beauty is, think of any new crypto project. And what happens when somebody makes this great new space token or whatever that's going to, you know, revolutionize the world or whatever. Let's say that it is. Let's say that it is really great. Let's say people want to use it. Let's say people want to buy it. What's the first problem? How do you get it? Right now, there's a token I want to buy. I'm not going to say what it is. There's only one exchange on the planet that exchanges it. And I can use a VPN and a kind of Fox number to make this work with my account verification shit. And still get it. But I didn't know it so I tried to sign up for the only exchange that sells it in the world today and said, you're an American citizen, go screw. After I signed up and everything, I'm like, all right, fine, I know what to do, and I'll get to this later. But you can see what I'm saying. So you got this interesting token. Somebody wants to buy it. You got to get it listed on an exchange. Think of it kind of like a fixed exchange faucet system. Again, X amount of Satoshis go in, Y amount of this new coin comes out. You always have that underlying base. No one gets to skim, no one gets to steal, and the problem is going to be that it sounds like a scam. Like, put your Bitcoin in here and you'll get this other thing. It has to be built by, you know, like probably a DAO with people remaining anonymous and all. It has to be out on like GitHub and all. It has to be raked over. You have to have every great coder in the space that you can get to rake it over and go, you know, here's a flaw or here's a potential exploit or whatever. You have to have confidence in it. But assuming you can build this and think of it like a sphere, a minting sphere. In, out, out, out. You know, in, out, backwards and forwards. And I guess what you could do to cover the Bitcoin fees is you charge the deposit in excess of what you know they need to get what they want out based on estimated fees, right? With some sort of buffering factor, okay? And then when the Bitcoin comes, and like I said, I think batching it the way that, you know, Strike and everybody else does, where they keep the fees very, very low comparison to individual transactions, batching it twice, 3, 4 times a day, I don't know, whatever it is. Again, developers figured this out. If you were to put in and you had like, you know, like you got charged 150 more Satoshis than was necessary to cover the transaction, some sort of aggregator to figure it out on average, and you expected that you were going to get, I don't know, 200 of this new coin, and it ended up where you could get 205.5, then when you got your deposit, it would be at least what you expected, and any overage is minted as a new token. And that way it's always locked. I can see a lot of shit that would have to be worked out to make this work. I can't see any reason this wouldn't work. And what you've done is you've created a privacy coin that is a fixed derivative of a fixed asset. This seems to have enormous potential. Enormous potential. It would be like Bitcoin private, except it would really work. It would really work, and it would, this is the beauty, it would not require begging and pleading major exchanges, please list this token. And it would just sit in the marketplace, and if you wanted it, boom, and there might be some delay. Like if you put money in, maybe it takes you to the next day to get it back out. Again, I think that when I think about how a lot of this tech works, you would have to create some, but I think this all has to be like hard-coded, machine-based decision-making where no one has like some sort of master key where they can go screw the pooch on this. And I don't know how to do that. What I do know is it can be done. You know, sort of like a trustless setup type situation where like these are the things and then like these are the parameters that can be adjusted with future code. Maybe it's the coin on the other side can be adjusted, well, like for functionality but not quantity. It has to lock. It has to lock so that there's always this fixed relationship in, out, and in, out on both sides of it. Tear it apart, guys. Tell me how stupid it is. Tell me how crazy it is. Tell me why we don't need it. Or tell me how it can work. Some of you guys out there, I know, you guys work in this space. You guys do this. Some of the people that listen to me, you guys build this shit. This one might be worth building. It really might be. Because again, you have something with an underlying pinned value that nobody can screw with, and then you create a funnel for it that also nobody can screw with, and then you create anonymity and privacy, and you create something that can be used in a world where it can always become Bitcoin again. Even though I think most of it, this is the good part, probably never would. With that, hope you guys enjoyed today's episode. If it's just totally nuts, you guys let me know.